Hey, what's up, Austin? This is Mr. Davidian, and right now I'm going to go over your rhetorical analysis on the Coca-Cola prompt, and I'm going to try to discuss it with you as I would approach it. I really probably don't have to with you because I know you understand how to write rhetorical analysis. However, I just want to see how much evidence you're using and how you can improve your writing. So the very first thing, obviously, is sometimes during the AP prompts, you're challenged by the lack of time. So sometimes your thesis and your intro doesn't have to be flashy. It can be very quick. So with that in mind, let's get into it. If sometimes when I'm grading, the camera might move, and I apologize for that. But at least you can hear what I'm saying. Also, the volume may be kind of high, so you won't want to turn your speakers down. Here we go. Within the two letters corresponding between Mr. Seaver, a small publishing firm owner, and Mr. Herbert, good uses of a positive phrases, the owner of Coca-Cola USA. I don't know if he's the owner, but he is definitely an executive. Are two persuasive-based arguments. By using rhetorical strategies, I would just clarify this. Arguments based on whether Seaver has the right or whether Seaver should or can't use the phrase, it's the real thing. So we want to include sort of what is the argument, add a little extra information here. By using rhetorical strategies such as organization, pathos, logos, and repetition, they both give off a respectable and formal tone. Very good. However, organized and logical, Mr. Herbert's argument was lacking. Thus, Mr. Sievert's argument was immensely more persuasive. Okay. I would add in maybe another reason why, but it's okay. Let's move on into your man, why is my camera? There we go. Into your reasoning. Even in the beginning, careful with this word starting off, but even in the beginning of his argument, Mr. Herbert gives off a condescending and demanding tone, very good, which transpires throughout his entire letter. He starts off his argument by formally addressing Seaver, very good vocabulary, and presenting the issue at hand. He then, now you haven't told me, Austin, what is the real issue? But you will here. Then he proceeded to repetitively and excessively rant about the time frame in which Coca-Cola used the frame. So the first time I hear it's the real thing, which is the real reason for Herbert's writing, you're using it in one of your examples. I would include this up here in your thesis to clarify that. So then I know what you're going to discuss, and I know what was the argument. So there we go. Use the phrase "it's the real thing" until it truly lost its meaning. By using the phrase, we believe you will agree, Mr. Herbert's initial thought is that Mr. Seaver will submit his rights to a larger corporation due to the difference of status between the two men. Interesting. However, that was not the behavior shown by Seaver. All right. Before you get into Seaver, the only thing I would say is, were there other strategies that Herbert used besides his formal tone? Were there other pieces of logos that he used to persuade him? Other word choice, diction that he used? Sorry, this is the wrong one. So we have the word dilute, its effectiveness, merchandising tool, use the phrase trade slogan for a certain effect. So Austin, I think there's a few more examples you can add. You know what I mean? You definitely got in your assurance, your cooperation, or I think you didn't even say assurance. I think you said you will agree. So there are still other words that you can include into that example. He uses words such as you will agree, your cooperation, your assurance, you will discontinue, it's the real thing. So litter your essay full of examples, and then of course explain it real quick as you are doing. I think you're just lacking more examples. So to fully answer the prompt, add more to fully answer the piece. So we can't leave out key details that Seaver uses. Your AP readers will not give you a high score if you're leaving out a lot of good information, especially when you know what diction is, you know what ethos, pathos, and logos are. So really get into thoroughly analyzing Herbert's arguments before moving on to Seaver. In contrast, Seaver puts up an adequate fight in his response to the overpowering company. Instead of, and you can use other general terms, synonyms for overpowering company, conglomerate, whatever you want to say. Instead of recognizing Coca-Cola as his superior, Seaver displays his thought on the matter by using a mocking tone and displaying. Mocking is a strong word, just so you know. Maybe wittiful, satirical, but let's get into it. Mocking tone. Sorry, we're having difficulties here. I'm gonna rip this off. Driving me nuts. Sorry about that. Displaying signs of awareness towards the absurdity of Herbert's requests. Maybe clarify the request by providing witty rebuttals. Here we go. I'm ready for the examples. When Seaver states, and I can fully understand that the public may be confused with your mistake for a pack of Coca-Cola, he never truly meant what he said. He was pointing out how ridiculous Herbert sounded when he exclaimed that there would always be the likelihood of confusion. Very good contrast there. Every rebuttal of Seaver's is a jab, uppercut, or a straight punch aimed toward Herbert's argument. I like it. But remember, you've only given me one piece of evidence. When he restates, I can fully understand. So this is one thing that Mr. Seaver said. Okay? I know how to count. Your AP readers know how to count, and they're going to count. Now you have good commentary. So on your commentary, if you're talking about commentary and effects, we are looking at adequately. You know what I mean? However, your readers are going to count how many examples you include. Had the audacity to infer that he had been through more important problems than Mr. Seaver's petty argument over the slogan, "It's the real deal." More important problems such as what? Of course, I know what you're referring to, but your reader, if you don't clarify it, your reader won't know. Obviously, you're discussing paragraph number 4. But remember, there's still a lot of information that Mr. Seaver discussed that you skipped over before you got to paragraph 4. So you might want to include that by completely nullifying carefully, because you haven't given me enough evidence to prove that he completely nullified it, right? All of Herbert's arguments, and you have to discuss all of Herbert's arguments through effective rhetorical strategies. Seaver makes Herbert's form of persuasion seem lacking and childish. I like the commentary, but you just got to give me more proof. To undermine, and you're using a lot of good different synonyms for undermining and nullifying. Very good vocabulary. Herbert's position and add humor to his response. Seaver states, "We have instructed our salesmen to notify bookstores to make sure what people want is a Coke. This shows the ridiculousness of Herbert's claims in a logical and effective way. Who could, under normal circumstances, mistake a book for a Coke? Could? It almost seems illogical that Herbert would even infer and make remarks about its possibility." Now here, you're only giving you've only given one example. So far when it comes to Seaver's rebuttal, you've given 2.5 pieces of example, or 2.5 pieces of evidence. You've discussed what they want as a Coke, the past problems, which you actually didn't clarify, so that's why I said half. And then, of course, confuse for a pack of Coke. And, of course, you're still on the same example. But to conclude, Seaver's response to Herbert was appropriate according to the manner in which he was addressed. The manner is too vague, way too vague. So be specific, be very clear. Herbert tried taking the logical route. However, he produced many fallacies in doing so. Of course, you didn't clarify those fallacies. I mean, I think one. But again, in terms of marketing, service persuasion was ineffective. However, he felt it unnecessary to bow down to large corporations. Good. Seaver rebuttal of all. Very careful on your words. You might want to qualify this statement. And that's something that I know you'll get. Saying an absolute term like all, somebody can actually disprove what you're saying by using such a strong term. Of Herbert's proposals and arguments. So, I know you could do better than this. I definitely know you could do better than this. So, the last thing I'm going to say is, if Herbert had a lot of different things that he used, different diction, different examples, and you mentioned a couple of those, but obviously you missed a whole bunch of things Herbert did. Seaver as well, he used a lot of different diction, own the phrase, First Amendment right. There's a lot of different thank you diction here. There's a lot of different things that Seaver did. Repeated his own words against Herbert. So you can't leave that out. And so to fully answer the prompt, you're going to need to add more examples, and that's only going to keep you in this 4 range right here. So I know you could definitely do better than that. Definitely have some vocabulary that you're doing well with. So we're going to give you effective vocabulary, variety of sentence structure. I would add in a different more transitions for fluidity of your paragraphs. Conclusion, probably general. Some good thoughts. You had some good vocabulary. So anyway, you didn't have any real distracting errors. So I think you're over here in that regard. So, and then of course you definitely have to clarify your thesis, and that's kind of that's what hurt you. So based on this, I think you're in the 4 or 5 range. I'm gonna give you the 5. So go ahead and fix that. I know you can do better. So we'll see you next one. Good luck.